Hi guys, David here. In this video I'm going to show you some very useful jigs around the workshop that I use every day. They're going to make your life much easier. Let's get into it. Here's the next jig I want to show you. Now this jig is very simple. It's 3 pieces of wood. 1, 2, 3. Now if you don't have a table saw and you can't cut things up squarely, maybe you can find some scraps from a woodwork shop where they have a table saw. Maybe you can find some piece of an old shelf. Find something with some reasonably straight edges. They don't all need to be the same size. You see, these are just random bits of scrap wood that I've screwed together to give me more or less 90 degrees here. They don't need to be 100% accurate. Don't get crazy about this. These are just a helping hand. So how do we use them? What are they for? Let's say I'm building a drawer, and I've only got 3 sides for the drawer here, but let's say I'm building a drawer or a box or a frame, and I need to connect these pieces like this. So as you see, it's already all falling apart in my hands. If I try to drive a nail in here, it's all just going to fall over. So I'll say, oh well, maybe I want to stand it up like this. This will be a bit better. I've got some more resistance if I want to knock in a nail or drive in a screw. But things are all over the place. It's all wibbly wobbly and a bit problematic. So this is where these come in handy. I don't have a name for them. Some kind of 90-degree angle thingies. That's the wrong piece. So now I can use these clips. You can get these in most hardware stores. They're not expensive. Quite often you get a whole bunch of them together in a set, big ones and little ones. Really useful. They're like a spare hand. So I can clip these guys on here like this. And basically, it just allows me to line things up. And even if it's not exactly 90 degrees here in the corner, it's not a problem. It's just a spare hand. It's just helping me to line these guys up. And now I could drill a hole, I could put a nail, and I can join this together. And then I can move this one and get this one accurate and join this one together. And now I've got half of my box built. I can flip it all over and connect the 4th side. So these are really, really useful, not just for little things like drawers. I use them on the floor when I'm assembling cabinetry for kitchens or cupboards. I work alone and I don't usually have someone to hold all the pieces for me. So these are really, really useful. You see I've got tape on this one. Probably I was gluing up something with it. And this one I built it with Formica on it so the things won't glue to it. So again, packing tape, useful stuff so your work doesn't stick to your jigs. Okay, so I did show these in another video about using a hammer and nails. And people say to me, oh, but don't you need a jig to build a jig? Well, no, you don't need a jig to build a jig. Here we are, look. I've got some random bits of scrap wood here. They're not the same thickness. Each one's a different piece of material. These two are sandwich. This is, I don't know what you call it in the West. They call it panel where I live. It's a stable material, good for doors and stuff. But it doesn't matter. Any old bits of material, you can pull them out of a skip if you can find a woodwork shop somewhere. You can pull them out of a skip. Now, this one's thick, this one's thin. So I'm not going to try driving a screw through the thick piece into the thin piece. I'll put it through the thin piece into the thick piece. Now I don't have a jig, and yes, it is wobbling around a bit to begin with. So what can I do? Well, I could look around and see what can I use to help stabilize this situation. Oh, I've got a piece of wood here. Isn't that amazing? So I could just take a clamp and clamp this piece to this piece like that. And now it's already getting square and straight. I could put it on the edge of the table. I could screw in from here. It's not really that difficult, guys. So everyone who keeps asking me, do I need a jig to build a jig? No, you don't need a jig to build a jig. You can do it like this. If you don't have a clamp, perhaps you could use a drawer. You could pull the drawer out and use the corner of the drawer as 90 degrees. find a chunk of wood. This is just an offcut. And like I say, don't get crazy about this to make everything square in the corners. I could put an offcut here. I could put a clamp on it again, like this. And I can bring it to the edge of the table. And I can pop in a nail or a screw, and everything stays pretty straight. Once that's nailed together, I'm not going to build it now. I don't think it's necessary. I'm sure you budding woodworkers can figure this one out. And then I connect this one with a couple of screws from here and a couple of screws from underneath. And there you go. Now, here's another jig or holding device that is highly recommended by me. It's called a bench hook, and it hooks onto the edge of the bench. This piece here hooks on. And if you're using a Western handsaw, this is a very basic saw, and you want to saw a piece of wood, let's find a piece of wood. I want to saw this piece of pine. Now, if I don't have a vise, I have a vise, but if you don't have a vise, you're going to find holding it on the table, it all moves around, it's not very secure, so you might decide to put your foot on it. Now you're all cramped up and it's not comfortable. So the easy way to hold this, 3 pieces of wood, a couple of screws or nails. You can hook this on the kitchen table if you don't have a work table, any old table or some kind of solid surface. And now Western saws work when you push. So now I can start my cut. As you see, my hand is clamping the workpiece onto the bench hook, and the edge of the bench hook hooks on the table. And now with very little difficulty, I can saw a piece of wood without any clamps, without any vices, and that's a bench hook. And you can make one of these really. This one's hanging around my workshop for countless years. You can see it's gone through tons of work. Yeah, very simple, very, very useful. I use it all the time. A bench hook. Okay, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please like and subscribe. Ring the little bell. And if you've got any comments, any questions, please leave them down below. I'm very happy to answer them. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.